Alright, get comfy. I've got a creepy little story to tell you. It happened a few years back in the fall of 2017, when I was 22 and living in a quiet neighborhood in northern Illinois, not too far from Rockford. I had just come out of a long relationship with my high school sweetheart, and after about a year of being single, I figured it was time to try dating again. You know how it is when you go online, download a few dating apps, scroll through the endless sea of smiling faces and weird bios. I wasn't expecting much, just hoping to meet someone cool enough to talk to and maybe grab a burger with. That's when I came across this girl named Mariah. Her profile was simple, kind of quirky. She liked old horror movies, camping, and made a joke about loving rainy days and fried pickles, which somehow cracked me up. We started chatting and she was funny, like the type of funny that feels easy and familiar. She sent a voice message once and her laugh had this warm, slightly raspy sound that made me smile. Her profile picture was grainy and kind of dark, but she looked cute. Curly black hair, sharp cheekbones, big brown eyes. After about a week of back and forth messages and a couple phone calls, we made plans to grab dinner. She told me she lived just outside of town, in this older part where the streets were narrow and the houses had that creaky charm. Just pick me up around 7, she said. It'll be easier than meeting there. I didn't think anything of it. So that Friday night I hopped in my car and made the 25-minute drive out to her place. The sun had already dipped below the horizon, and everything had that dim orange glow that quickly fades into the blue-black of night. Her neighborhood was eerily quiet. Not a single dog barking, not a single porch light on, just rows of old houses with patchy yards and sagging fences. Hers was the only one with a light on. I pulled up to this little 2-story house with peeling paint and a crooked mailbox. I texted her to let her know I'd arrived. No response. I waited a few minutes, tapping my fingers on the steering wheel, trying not to feel weird. 5 minutes passed, then 10. I was starting to wonder if I had been stood up when I finally got a reply. Hey, sorry, my cousin will come out to meet you. He's just being a little overprotective. That made my stomach twist a bit. Not that I mind people looking out for family, but it felt odd. Still, I texted back something like, no worries, even though I wasn't thrilled. A minute later, the front door creaked open, and a guy stepped outside. Now, this guy, something about him just didn't sit right. He was tall, at least 6'4", and built like someone who worked construction or moved furniture for a living. He wore this big dark hoodie with the hood halfway up, shadowing part of his face. As he walked toward my car, I noticed he wasn't looking at me. He was looking through me. I got out, trying to be polite. He stopped a few feet away and gave me this slow, strange smile, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes. I'm Josh, he said in a low voice. Mariah's cousin. I nodded and offered my hand. He shook it, but there was no warmth in it. His grip was firm, but not in a friendly way, but more like a test. She's just upstairs, he said. You can come in for a minute, I hesitated. I really did. But I didn't want to be rude. So I followed him up the walkway and through the front door. The moment I stepped inside, I regretted it. The house smelled weird, like something damp and old mixed with faint cigarette smoke and burnt food. The lighting was dim, just one overhead light flickering slightly in the hallway. He gestured toward the living room. She'll be down in a sec, he said. Just hang out in here. I stepped into the living room and that's when I saw them. 2 men were sitting on the couch. One was older, maybe in his 40s, wearing a stained tank top and jeans. The other looked younger, wearing a camo jacket and staring down at his phone. Neither of them looked at me when I came in, they just stared at the wall like I wasn't even there. I said, hey, trying to break the tension. Nothing. No response. Not even a nod. Then I noticed something else. There was no TV, no music, no conversation. Just the quiet hum of an old fridge somewhere deeper in the house and the faint creak of floorboards upstairs. Josh disappeared around the corner, calling out, Mariah, you ready? A voice from upstairs called back, muffled. Almost. But something was wrong. The voice didn't sound like Mariah. It was higher-pitched, nervous, like someone pretending. I glanced around the room, trying not to show how uncomfortable I felt. Then I noticed movement from the dining room off to the side. Another man. just sitting alone at the dining table facing the wall. His back was straight, hands on the table, not moving. He was just sitting there, listening, watching me from the corner of his eye. That's when my gut dropped. This wasn't right. None of this was right. I slowly backed up toward the front door, not turning my back to them. I could feel every pair of eyes on me now, even the ones that hadn't looked at me before. My hand found the doorknob. I started twisting it as quietly as I could when I heard someone upstairs scream, "Grab him!" Suddenly all the silence shattered, chairs scraped, feet pounded. Someone lunged from the dining room just as I flung the door open and sprinted down the steps. I heard them coming after me, heavy boots slamming the porch, hands reaching out. I dove into my car, slammed the lock down, and jammed the keys into the ignition. As the engine roared, fists pounded against my windows. One guy kicked the door so hard the whole car shook. I didn't even check my mirrors, I just floored it. I tore down that quiet street, headlights bouncing off houses, heart hammering in my chest. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. A text from Mariah. "Sorry." That's all it said. When I got home, I was shaking so bad I couldn't get the key in the door. I finally stumbled inside and told my older brother what had happened. He stared at me, pale-faced, and said, "Dude, that sounds like a setup. You need to call the cops." So I did. The police actually took me seriously. A neighbor had seen some of it. Apparently, he heard the screaming and saw the guys pounding on my car as I peeled out. He gave an anonymous tip. The cops raided the house later that night. They arrested 3 men, including Josh, whose real name was not Josh. The 4th guy, the one from the dining room, wasn't found. They claimed no girl named Mariah lived there. No one matched the photos I'd seen. The app profile disappeared that same night. Gone, deleted. I kept thinking back to her voice, and the voice that sounded real. The way we joked about fried pickles. Was it even her? Or was someone else behind the screen the whole time? I never found out. But I deleted every dating app after that. I didn't go near them for 2 years. And to this day, I double lock my doors every night. Sometimes I still think about that house. That smell. That voice upstairs wasn't quite right. That cold smile from a stranger pretending to be family. And every once in a while I get a friend request from someone I don't recognize. No profile picture. No mutual friends, just a name and one word in the message. Sorry. Okay, so this happened back in the summer of 2019, when I was 22 and living alone in a little rental house in a quiet neighborhood just outside of Ashbrook, Oregon. It was the kind of area where everyone minded their business, and nothing weird ever really happened until it did. At the time, I'd been trying out this dating app called Hinge. I'd already met 3 people from it. 2 were nice enough, but nothing clicked. The 3rd girl and I dated for a few months, but it fizzled out, and honestly, I wasn't looking to jump back into anything serious after that. I just wanted to chill, meet new people, maybe hang out, watch a movie. Nothing deep. So when I matched with this girl named Lena, it seemed like exactly what I was looking for. Lena had these soft blue eyes in her profile pictures, pale skin, and this kind of quiet, serious expression. Her bio was short and simple, into rainy nights, horror movies, and silence. I figured that was just her vibe, mysterious and moody. We chatted for a few days. She was polite, asked some basic questions, but never really got personal. Still, there was nothing alarming, and one Friday night she messaged me, "Want to hang out tonight? I can come over." I hesitated for like 2 seconds, but figured sure, why not? I was planning on watching a movie anyway. So I gave her my address and told her to come by around 9. She said, "Cool, I'll bring snacks." At 9:30, my doorbell rang. I opened the door and there she was. She looked just like her pictures, tall, skinny, long dark hair. But in person, she seemed off. Her eyes didn't quite meet mine when I greeted her. She just sort of gave a tiny smile and stepped inside like she'd been there before. No hi, no how are you, no handshake or hug. I chalked it up to nerves. We headed upstairs to the living room where I had a couch, TV, and a couple of beanbags. I put on a movie, some old horror flick, and we talked. Or at least I tried to talk. I asked her about her job, school, music, whatever. Her answers were short. Most of the time she just stared at the TV or around the room. The air felt heavy. I don't even know how else to describe it. It was like the room got colder after she arrived. But I was trying to be cool about it. I figured maybe she was shy or tired. I kept thinking, should I make a move? Is she into this? But the vibe was just too weird. The more we sat there, the more uncomfortable I got. Around midnight, Lena suddenly said, "Thanks for letting me stay." I blinked. "Stay?" "Yeah," she said, not even looking at me. "You said I could hang out for the night." I didn't remember being that specific, but I just nodded. Yeah, that's fine." She stood up and stretched, then pointed to the carpet next to the couch. "Can I use a blanket?" Now, most people would have offered the couch or a guest bed, right? But she didn't ask. She wanted to sleep on the floor. I was too caught off guard to question it, so I grabbed a couple of spare blankets and pillows and helped her set up a little bed. "Thanks," she mumbled, and lay down immediately, facing the wall. I turned off the lights, sat back on the couch, and just kind of stared at the ceiling like, what is even happening right now? Eventually, I drifted off. I don't know what time it was when I woke up. Maybe 2 or 3 a.m., something just felt wrong. I sat up and looked over the edge of the couch. The blankets were empty. Lena was gone. I got up slowly and turned on the hallway light. My house wasn't big, but every shadow suddenly felt deeper, darker. The air felt heavy again, heavier than before. That's when I heard it. A voice. Faint, coming from downstairs. It wasn't loud, but I could tell it was a woman's voice. Muffled, repetitive, like someone whispering the same thing over and over. I crept to the top of the stairs and listened. My house creaked under my feet. All the lights were still off. I couldn't make out what she was saying, but it definitely wasn't a phone call. There was no pause, no back and forth, just her voice. Soft, steady, unnerving. I slowly walked downstairs. Every step I took, my gut twisted tighter. The kitchen light was off, but I could see just enough from the glow of the street lamp outside, and there she was, sitting at the table, facing the wall, completely still, muttering to herself. She didn't react when I stepped into the room. Her hands were folded neatly on the table. Her hair hung like a curtain over her face. I froze. "Lena?" I whispered. She turned her head, slow, mechanical, until she was looking directly at me. Her eyes looked empty, glossy, like she wasn't fully there. Then, without saying anything, she turned her head back toward the wall. I backed out of the room like I was in a dream and bolted upstairs, heart pounding in my chest. I locked my bedroom door and grabbed my phone to call someone, anyone. I called my older brother, Sam. He didn't answer. I called again, and again. On the third try, he picked up, groggy and annoyed. "Dude, what?" he mumbled. I whispered, "Listen, this girl from the app is here and she's downstairs talking to herself, facing the wall. She's freaking me out. What the hell?" he said. "Is she on something?" "I don't know, but it's not normal." He told me to call 911 if she got violent and to stay locked in my room. I was about to respond when I noticed something in the corner of my eye. Movement. Turned slowly and saw the silhouette of someone standing in the hallway outside my bedroom door. My heart stopped. She was just standing there, still as a statue. The door was locked, thank God, but I could see her shadow under the door frame. She wasn't knocking. She wasn't saying anything, just standing there. "Sam," I whispered into the phone. "She's at my door." And then she screamed, loud, raw, a high-pitched, blood-curdling scream that didn't even sound human. She began pounding on the door with both hands, screaming and shrieking and yelling something I couldn't understand. It sounded like a different language, or gibberish, or both. I backed away, still on the phone, yelling at my brother to call the cops. I was shaking so hard I nearly dropped the phone. Then the pounding stopped. Dead. Silence. I stayed frozen in place for what felt like forever. Then, crack. The door frame splintered as she kicked the door open and came running at me like a wild animal. I'll never forget the look on her face. Her mouth was open, eyes wide and empty. She lunged at me and grabbed my neck with both hands, squeezing with this unnatural strength. I fought back with everything I had. Somehow I managed to shove her off me and pin her to the bed. I screamed for help, begged Sam to call the cops. She thrashed and growled like something out of a nightmare. By the time the police arrived, I had dragged her downstairs, still struggling. They came in fast, got her under control, and took her away. I gave a statement, filled out some papers, and they left. I never heard from Lena again. I don't know where she went, what was wrong with her, or if she even remembered that night. Part of me thinks she was sick, mentally unwell, but another part of me, I don't know. There was something about her. Something not right, like she wasn't just a person who snapped, but something darker. Like she brought something with her into my house that night. It's been years and I still don't sleep well on rainy nights. Every creak in the house makes my stomach turn. And I haven't used a dating app since. So if you ever meet someone online and think, hey, what's the worst that could happen? Trust me, meet in public. Every single time. Because sometimes you're not just inviting a stranger into your house, you're inviting something else. You know how some stories are better left untold? Yeah, this might be one of them. So for some background, I've been single most of my life. Not that I'm against dating or anything. It's just, people are weird. And apps like SwipeMate or FlirtZone, even weirder. But like a lot of folks, I use them now and then. Mostly when I was bored or stuck inside with nothing better to do. This happened back in January of 2022. I was 22, living at home in a quiet little suburb in Oregon called Maple Hollow. Not exactly the most exciting place on earth. It's all pine trees, foggy roads, and old houses that creak too much. My parents were away for the week visiting my aunt in Arizona, so it was just me and my cousin Leo, who was crashing with us while he looked for work. Anyway, one freezing Friday night I was curled up on the couch, half watching a rerun of some dumb reality show, half swiping on FlirtZone, not taking anything seriously, just messing around. I had like 5 convos going, but most of them died out quick. That's pretty normal on those apps. Then one match stood out. Her name was Elsie. Her profile said she lived nearby, and she had one photo, a slightly blurry picture of her in a hoodie standing in what looked like a forest. No smile, just staring at the camera like she was waiting for something. Her first message said, "Hey, you up?" It was just past 9 p.m. I typed back, "Yeah, just chillin'."
"What about you?"
She replied instantly, "Wanna hang out tonight?" Now, I'd only been talking to her for like 5 minutes. Normally I'd be more cautious, but there was something kind of thrilling about the idea. And it wasn't like she was asking for anything sketchy, just to hang out. I said sure. She asked for my address. I hesitated for half a second, but then shrugged and sent it. I figured worst case, she flakes. Best case, maybe we grab coffee or something. Then I messaged, "Can you send me your number? Just in case." She didn't answer. A minute later, she went offline. At first I thought, okay, maybe her battery died, or she got cold feet. I went back to my show, checking the app every so often. Nothing. By 11 p.m., I gave up. It was late, I was getting tired, and honestly, the idea of meeting a stranger at night was starting to feel less fun and more dumb. I went to bed. The next morning, I woke up around 6:30. It was still dark out, and a soft drizzle was tapping against my window. I reached for my phone and saw a few notifications from FlirtZone. Elsie had messaged me. But the times were weird. 4:48 a.m. "Hey, I'm on my way." 3:06 a.m. "I'm outside." 3:21 a.m. "Why aren't you answering?" 3:44 a.m. "I see you." 4:10 a.m. "You look cute when you sleep." 6:28 a.m. "How'd you sleep?" I just stared at the screen for a while. At first I thought it was a joke, maybe someone messing with me. But then I noticed she was still online, and the moment I did, another message popped up. "Check behind your curtain." I felt a sharp chill crawl up my back. I slowly turned to look at my bedroom window. The blinds were down, but they weren't all the way shut. There was a small gap, just enough to see through, and just enough for someone to see in. I jumped up, rushed to the window, and yanked the blinds shut. Then I locked the window tight, heart pounding like crazy. I messaged her back, "Who the hell is this?" She replied instantly, "Check your closet and find out I didn't move." I didn't breathe. My eyes flicked to the closet door across the room. It was open. I know I had closed it the night before. I always do. I'm weirdly paranoid about that. Now it was open just a crack. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and crept toward it. My feet felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds. I held my breath, reached out, and flung the door open. Nothing. Just clothes, shoes, a pile of laundry. But the weirdest part? It smelled like soil. Damp, earthy, like someone had been walking through a forest before climbing inside. I backed away, slammed the door shut, and bolted out of the room. Leo was already awake, halfway through a bowl of cereal. I must have looked pale as a ghost because he said, "Dude, you good?" I told him everything. The messages, the closet, the window. He paused, put down his spoon, and said, "You don't think someone actually came in here last night, right?" That's when it hit me. I hadn't locked the front door. We checked the house top to bottom. Everything seemed normal. The front door was locked now, but it could have been locked after someone left. The weirdest thing was that nothing was taken. No signs of forced entry, just unsettling silence. Leo and I went through the Flirt Zone app, tried reporting the profile, but by the time we looked, Elsie's profile was gone, like completely wiped. Not unmatched, just vanished. As if she'd never existed, we went to the police. I showed them the messages, even the creepy one about watching me sleep. But they said unless there was proof someone had broken in, there wasn't much they could do. I asked if they could trace the account. They said it would require a subpoena or court order, and even then the app might not have usable info. So, that was that. But things didn't stop there. For the next few nights, weird stuff kept happening. One night, Leo swore he heard footsteps outside his window at 3 a.m. We both ran out to check, but found nothing, just muddy footprints on the side path near the bushes. Another night, I found a note stuck between the screen and glass of my bedroom window. No envelope, just a piece of paper damp from the rain. It said in shaky handwriting, "You left the window unlocked again." After that, I nailed the window shut. All of them. We set up a cheap camera facing the front door. Nothing showed up for days. Then one night, at exactly 3:15 a.m., the camera caught a figure standing at the edge of the driveway. Not moving, just standing there, watching the house. It was hard to make out, but the person looked like they were wearing a hoodie, same kind Elsie wore in her one photo. The figure stood there for 22 minutes, then slowly walked away into the woods across the street. We sent the footage to the police. They said without a clearer image or a face, it wasn't enough. They did a drive-by patrol for a few nights, but never saw anything. And then, it all just stopped. The messages stopped. The figure never came back. Weeks went by. Then months. Nothing else happened. Eventually, Leo moved in with some friends, and my parents came home like nothing ever happened. I told them someone had been messing with us, but left out the creepier details. No need to scare them, but even now I can't sleep with my closet door open. Even now. I double-check every lock 3 times before going to bed, and every so often around 3 a.m. I'll wake up for no reason. Just open my eyes and feel something, like I'm being watched. I try not to look at the window because one day I might see her again.